So here's the MP808, and this is why I think that this scan tool is the best scan tool for the Mercedes-Benz S-Class or other, high electronic type cars that use a lot of like electronics to control the car and things like that. So with this scan tool, the number one thing that it can do that other scan tools can't do is programming. And so not only can it read codes, but it can program. And so with the S-Class, you have a lot of features in the car that require them to be told what to do. And that's in essence what programming is. You're telling the car what to do. It does have automatic functions, but sometimes you need to go back and tell the car what to do. Then from there, it can do the automatic function. So with this scan tool, it can do that to a certain degree. It's not a star system. It's not a star system. It's only it can do a lot, but it can only do so much. So I'm going to show you what it can do. Mainly, I'm going to focus on the air suspension and the PSC pump. So that's what we're going to focus on today. A lot of people in the comments have asked about, adjusting the suspension, adjusting the PSC pump, and I will touch on the transmission. But with that said, let's get started. So we'll go into Diagnostics right here, and from here you can check to see if you have any codes. But you can also just hit the VIN, hit auto detect. You can get away with just a regular scan tool, an OBD2 scan tool. But if you have any type of car that uses like a lot of just like electronics to control the car, then you're gonna want a programmable scan tool like this, or a scan tool that's capable of programming. So now that we have our VIN number, we're gonna go ahead and hit OK. And then from here, if you have a car that stops at 2002, then you're gonna hit this one. If you have a car that's 2002 and newer, then you'll hit this one. So we have a car that's 2002 and newer, or I do, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit this. And then depending on where you're at, it's either left hand or right hand. So here we're in the good old USA, so I'll hit the left hand. And then from here you can see what model series you have. Now this is really important right here because there's a lot of times in the service manual where it'll say if your model series is 220 XXX or XX, then you need to do it this way, or if it's this, then you need to do it that way. So this is good to know. So from here we'll click yes, and now you can see we have programming. So we have programming, we have hot functions, we have diagnosis. Now for the sake of this video, since programming is the hot topic, we're gonna cover programming first. And so now we have programming, coding, and then transmission, calibration, data backup, and recovery. Stay away from the transmission, because unless you know what you're doing, you can mess things up with the transmission. So we're gonna go to programming and code. You can mess up the car if you don't know what you're doing, but the scan tool allows you to exit out before you go into mission critical stuff. So here you can see we have our SFI motor, we have our airbag, we have our Distronic. Distronic is actually that driving assist where it'll keep pace with traffic. So Mercedes was doing this before Tesla, just letting you guys know. All those Tesla neighbors and friends you got, just tell them like, hey, you ain't new. So we have door control, we have transmission, suspension, and some more stuff. So if we go over, we have more door control stuff, seat adjustment in the rear, pneumatic, PSC pump right here. This is what we're going to be covering. We have left signal acquisition module, trailer recognition, electric seat, and here we have keyless go, right headlamp control, TV tuner, headlamp, overhead control panel, headlamp, command audio. So we'll start with suspension. We'll just go to suspension right there. And then we'll have initial startup. And then initial startup with manual settings, input for new control module, level calibration. And so here you'll see it's gonna tell you what it can do. It's gonna say level calibration is required, general notes, brief description of calibration. Continue with key OK. In order to actuate the level valves, approach stated specific levels, F3 to F8. And so now we have left front level sensor, right front level sensor, and it gives you the voltage and the value. So we'll go back to the top. So F3 to F4 increases the values. And so here you can see signal 1 of component B229 right front sensor. So like if we click on that and then we press OK, let's see. So now this is going to tell you the inclination angle value in degrees, everything like that. And from here you can adjust the angle and all that kind of stuff. So whatever you need to adjust, you're going to do it here, and then you can just type it in like that, or so we'll escape out here. Now there's another way to calibrate the suspension. So if we go back and just gotta wait. So now you can see so you can see set values for rear axle inclination angle 1.9 to 1.4. So F3 lifts the front, F4 lowers the front, F5. So you kind of get the idea. So now if we go back and right here, so that's how it's going to work, and then you're going to have all your sensors. Now another way we'll escape out of here, we'll escape again, and we'll escape one more. I'll show you. And then we go to control unit. So under control unit, we're going to have drive, chassis, body, air conditioning, seats, information communication. I believe it might be under chassis. Let me see. Suspension. So we'll go to suspension. And now we have the ECU function, or the ECU information, read codes, live data, active test, special functions. So what we can do here is, I believe maybe under active test, we can go to level values. And we can go to level values, level adjustment. So move toward calibrated level manually, move toward calibrated level automatically. And then we'll go to level adjustment. Lift front, you know, you have all your stuff right here. So we'll go back, move toward calibrated manually, and see right here where it says rear of the vehicle is 12 millimeters, right front is 6, left front is 7, and these are in millimeters. And then so lift front, you know, you can do all that. Now, this is really important because if you go take your car to get an alignment and you know, assuming that you have good tires and the person who did the alignment knows what they're doing, and your car is still pulling to the left or pulling to the right, chances are when they did the alignment, your suspension might have been off or whatever. So it's good to calibrate your suspension before you do an alignment. Although I've had experience where I calibrated my alignment or my suspension after the alignment, and I noticed better results. So you just got to check and see how it works out. So this is what's really important. So this is how you get into this, and we'll escape out. And the automatic, so I went into manual because manual, so I could show you guys just like how it is, because automatic will just do this automatically. So when you want to calibrate, just go to automatic and let the automatic function run its course, and stuff like that. So if we exit out, then here's the central reservoir. So we can fill central reservoir, we can empty the reservoir if we want to, and the reservoir is like the air tank, so the car can raise itself even when the car is not on. So that's good. Damper values, right front damper, so we can go look here. You know, we're getting into like more specific stuff. So like you can see here, switch on left front damper value, and so we can control each damper this way. And now if we exit out one more, so then we exit out one more. So now we can go to like read codes if we have any codes, right? No faults detected, so that's good. Sometimes you'll get a fault for whatever reason. Clear the code first, and then after that, see if you get any faults after driving for a while. Then you'll know if you have a serious problem or not. Sometimes you'll just get like random codes. And then so this is the DTC. This is like the term for like, you know, if you have a code or not. So you can clear it through here. Some codes won't clear, even with this. This will clear most codes, but there are some that it won't clear. So live data, right here, level sensors, wake up process, pressure sensor, national version, lock position, acceleration sensor. So you can go here, and you know, it's just gonna give you a value. And this is just monitoring your car. This doesn't like adjust anything, nothing like that. All you're doing with this data is you're just looking at it. The way that Formula One teams look at data when the car is driving around the track. So you can like record the data, save the data, then print it. So now we're gonna get out of here. So and then here's tire pressure. You can also change your tire pressure monitor, your ESP stability program, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes, I don't know if you know, but you'll get the ESP where you'll start your car and it won't start, and then you got to turn the steering wheel. I don't know if you know that trick, but this ESP is good to have. It's good to be able to do that. So here we go again. So this is all the control unit. So we're gonna escape out again. Now we're gonna go back to programming. We're gonna go to programming coding, and I'm just gonna wait. So now we're gonna go. So remember, suspension programming is gonna be different than just regular diagnostic suspension tuning. I guess that's kind of the way we'll divide it. So suspension tuning is what we just went to, and suspension programming is in this, and it's going to be different. So here it's going to say programming, it's going to be a little different. So here we are at the PSE. You hope it doesn't go out, because it's really kind of a pain to deal with. So here we have initial startup, read the coding and change as necessary, factory settings for trunk lid remote closing. So the trunk lid remote closing, that all it does is just, if you have the button that's, you press to close the trunk, then that's all that is. And then so you'll either click yes or no if you have it. Vehicle with remote trunk lid closing. I don't have it, so I would hit no and stuff, but we're just going to hit escape. Read the coding and change as necessary. So that's the main thing that we want. So we're going to have trunk lid remote release. That's going to be the button on the inside of the car. Multi-contour backrest. That's going to be your lumbar system. So when you're driving, those numbers right by your calf when you're driving, that little number wheel to adjust the lumbar system. So if you hear your pump constantly going on and off, like bzz, 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 like that, chances are you have some sort of leak in your lumbar system, and that's going to kill your pump. It's going to kill your pump quick. So what you want to do is you want to go in here, and it's going to say, codes being transmitted and everything. Pressure supply, not active, right? Yours might be active. So you're going to hit edit. So you hit edit, and it'll say not active and active. So make sure it's not active. Or if it's active, switch it to not active, and that'll save your pump. So if you're someone who doesn't mind the lumbar system, pay attention to the noise in your car. So like when it's quiet and you got the key in the ignition, listen for your pump. If your pump keeps like humming or buzzing, then you have a leak somewhere in your lumbar system, and you gotta, you either gotta fix it or just turn it off. So the easiest way to do it is to just turn it off. So what I've learned is that you can set the function on your lumbar system. So like if you like a level 3 or level 4 or level 5, go ahead and set it there and then disable it, and it'll hold the pressure. But from whatever reason, it'll just keep the pump running if you keep it active. So something to realize. So now we'll exit out of here, and so we have child safety locks, trunk lid remote closing, central locking, emergency opening, head restraint. That's going to be those 3 headrest in the rear, and you know how you press that button to lower them back down. So that is what this controls, and then power locking and everything like that. So now let's see here. Let's get out. So if we go to factory settings, trunk lid closing, initial startup. Let's go here. Okay, so here is a pretty cool trick. So initial startup with automatic takeover of settings from the old control module. So what you can do, the cool thing with this one is it's going to say the following procedure will guide you through all steps required to carry out. So right here it's going to say the old control module is still installed, or here's the preconditions. The old control module is still installed. The new control module shall be available. And what it's going to, pretty much what it's going to do is it's going to download the data from the old one. You're going to swap out the new one, and then it's going to transfer over. So read the coding and transmission to the new control module. Factory settings, trunk lid, normalized trunk lid, remote closing. So this part right here, and it's all auto. That's what it's going to do. Now, here's initial startup with manual settings, right? So the manual settings is going to be a little bit more our style. So manually code new control module and stuff like that. And then factory settings, normalize. So if we go to auto and delay time. So now it's gonna kind of just walk us through each step. So like for example, this is the delay time of the remote trunk release, which is the button on the inside of the car. So now if we go edit, right, we can change that. Let's see, we can change that to either go faster or longer, take faster or longer, kind of like in the middle. So we'll just escape, and then from there we'll just say transmit, right? And then is the coding to be performed? Yes, right. And then coding is carried out. Okay, great. So now it's going to go to rear head restraint raising, not active, because we only have lowering. But see, lowering is active. So then we would transmit. And pretty much, we'll just transmit. Yes, it's just going to walk you through the process. Pressure supply, not active. That's the lower lumbar that I was telling you about earlier. So once again, it's just going to walk you through all this stuff, right? Transmit. Yes. So central locking, automatic relocking after 40 seconds. So now what this is when you lock your car with your alarm, and let's say you hit the door open, you open it back up, and you don't open your door, after 40 seconds your car is going to relock. And then automatic locking via vehicle speed signal. So here at 15 miles an hour, that's what it's set to, and everything. So, and then this is pretty much selective opening and everything like that. Selective opening for the trunk lid, active. Selective opening for the fuel filter flap, if you have one, where it automatically opens up. Then you would just code all this. So whatever you have, and then you can go in and edit all of this, right? So you can go in and edit all of this, and then once you're done editing, you're just going to transmit it to the car. So that's how you're going to program. I'm going to go ahead and escape out of this because I've already done this. And so normalized trunk lid remote closing. See, it says this note applies only if your component is installed. So if you have the remote closing, then you can normalize it. This is not the trunk lid, the silver chrome handle that pops out for you to close it. That is something different. And so that's what everyone pretty much wants to know about, because that lid ends up opening when the trunk is closed, and it closes when the trunk is open. It gets weird when you swap out your PSE pump. The best thing I can say is that make sure you get a pump that is from another S-Class. If you get a pump from like a CL or something like that, then it's just going to be more complicated. The computer is going to read it differently. It'll still do the main functions. It'll still do the main functions that you need it to do. But if you can get a pump that is from another S-Class, and then the number on the pump, like when you're looking to buy pumps, especially if you're looking on eBay, see if you can see the part number, because the number at the end might be like a 7, an 8, an 11, a 12, and that number is going to indicate how new the pump is. So pay attention to that. Also, make sure that when you do get your pump to open it up, some sellers will swap out. They'll sell you the box, so the box will be like a new number, but on the inside, the pump could be an old number. So pay attention to that. So that's pretty much it in terms of the PSE programming and the PSE programming for the trunk and all that kind of stuff and everything. So it does a lot. Like, I mean, I was able to buy a PSE pump and get it working and programmed using this. I didn't have to take it to Mercedes-Benz. I didn't have to do anything like that, and the trunk works great. So this thing is definitely worth it. The AUTEL MP808 is worth its weight in gold, if you ask me. It has lifetime firmware updates, but if you want like car updates, then you're gonna have to pay annually for the system. But other than that, I mean, like, we can go into transmission calibration, data backup, data recovery, data management. And if we can go into like data, touch this, current transmission data recorder is not found. Okay, good. You know, so we can go into program, really touch the transmission stuff, but I'll show you, like, I'll do like a code reading. So here we have initial startup with manual setting input for new control module. Read the coding. Let's see what that. Turn on the ignition. Okay, it's on. So here's just some coding for all you coders who speak in foreign code language. Initial startup. Another thing I will say about the transmission, let me see, let me get out of here, and I'll show control unit. There we go. Okay, so I think it's under drive. Yeah, transmission. So one cool thing with the transmission is that it's under, you know, like live data, is that you can go to live data and you can go to oil level check. I don't think it works on this one. It's not going to work. But here's one thing. So sorry about that. In terms of oil level check, like, what I meant to say is that it doesn't have an oil level check, but the oil level check is how you're going to check the oil level in regards to the temperature. Now, you can see here's the value. So the car is in park, right? So target gear, actual gear, park. And that's what the car is in right now. So if you were to switch gears, it would go from whatever gear it's in, and it'll show that. So if you're in drive, it'll say drive, neutral. Transmission oil temperature. Now, here's the cool thing. So 47 degrees, and this is in real time. So this is live. Now, you know, if you've seen my videos, we'll talk about so if you've seen my videos, you know how I say, like, your transmission fluid, you need to check your transmission fluid at, you know, 80 degrees or 45 degrees Celsius. And I say use the laser thermometer. Well, now with this tool, you don't have to use the laser thermometer. You can just connect it to the car and it'll tell you your temperature. And so it'll start climbing. You'll see the number kind of like flicker, and then it'll go up to the next number, and so on. And so that's another great feature with this unit, is now when you're checking the transmission fluid, you can just read it from the scan tool. This is really important with the 722.9 transmission, the 7-speed transmission, because it doesn't have a dipstick. So it's hard to tell like where you're at, right? In terms of like how much fluid to put in when at the certain temperature. So here, you know exactly when to start filling it up and when to drain it, because it's going to show you the temperature. So I thought about you guys already in case you don't want to buy this unit. I connected this unit up to the car, and I measured the temperature with the laser thermometer underneath, and I found the best place to measure the transmission with the laser thermometer that matched the AUTEL MP808. And so it's the closest, so you want to aim the laser at the edge of the transmission pan closest to the transmission bell housing, so going toward the engine. So like right around where it's like I think it's the O2 sensor connectors or something like that. That's where you want to measure it. It's going to be right there, like so closest to the transmission bell housing, like where it starts getting into that big aluminum opening. That's where you want to measure it. That was the best, most accurate place with the laser if you don't want to buy this scan tool. But I highly recommend buying a scan tool. AUTEL didn't pay me to make this video, so buy whatever scan tool you want, but make sure it just does programming. There was another scan tool that I saw, and I almost bought that one. It was like Mercedes-Benz specific, but it didn't do as much as this one. I don't think it did programming. Another one, there's another AUTEL like the 505 or something. Stay away from that. All that is just an oversized OBD2 scanner. It can't do anything other than read codes. You're overpaying for it. You might as well just buy like a $100 or $50 OBD2 scanner and call it a day. One thing though I will say about the OBD2 scanners is that they can't clear codes. So that's something to keep in mind. So now we can go to ECU information, and that gives you all the ECU hardware status, 09, 04, stuff like that. So if we go back and let's see here. So let's go here. So if we go to auto scan, now it's going to scan the whole car, right? So you see, it's just going to scan the whole car. So I'm going to let this run, and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, so it's finished, and you can see here we have electronic ignition switch fault, PSC pneumatic system, a bunch of faults, overhead control panel fault, and then after that looks like it's pretty good. But these are some of the things it checks. So you have door control modules, steering column module, air conditioning, headlamp range adjustment, central gateway, audio, nav system, CD changer, all that kind of stuff. So let's go back up, and since we want to talk about, since the PSC is kind of like the most important thing, let's go ahead and see what that says. So it's going to read it. Now we have the ECU information, active test, live data. So we just want to read codes. That's what everybody's panic. Whenever there's a code that comes up, we all panic. So you can see here the pneumatic branch, the safety time of the power closing is exceeded. The trunk lid. So then the other one is safety time, safety time, safety time, power closing, seated driver door. So now what this is saying is that the central locking, like the soft close, I believe, the soft close might not be working, which that's okay. So the other thing is that the time of the trunk lid internal button is exceeded. Keyless go. Now you'll see here it'll say like if the activation is okay, the fault can be disregarded. So you'll throughout, like, one of the things that, especially with the Mercedes, is that you'll see stuff like that where it'll say like, you know, if this is normal or if you don't have this, you can disregard it. So a lot of times Mercedes is just going to throw a code or a fault even if the car doesn't have it. Especially, I'll say with the S-Class. I won't say with all Mercedes, but with the S-Class it does that. Maybe in an update. I haven't updated this thing in about a year, so they might have addressed this issue. But here you can see, you know, all these like faults and stuff like that. I'm perfectly okay with that. I know the status of all of this, and I'm fine. And like I said, the pump works great, but for the sake of clearing it, let's go ahead and clear it. So we want to say yes. And then from here, we're going to have to go and turn off the ignition for 10 seconds and then turn it back on. So I'm going to go do that. All right, so then we'll just go ahead and click yes. So just something to keep in mind. So you can see it cleared all of them except for the keyless go, which can be disregarded. So for example, like on a regular scan tool, you might not be able to clear codes like this. You can only read codes. So that's something to keep in mind. So now another thing that's cool about this scan tool is that here's the code, and so you can search the internet, right? You can search the internet for this code, and it'll tell you Mercedes-Benz trunk assist soft close repair. So like I said, it's the soft close system on the car. I know about it. Sometimes it's better just to not even engage the soft close. It just puts more wear on the pump. So, but that's kind of the thing. You can, search the internet. It'll automatically take you to all the DIY sources out there. So that's really a nice feature to have. So we can escape out, and we can go to live data if we want. And see, you'll see trunk lid, central locking. So if we go to trunk lid, right, we can just like look at everything. So remote release switch, not operated, delay time, trunk lid lock switch delay time, trunk lid lock switch delay time, milliseconds. So that, you can always know where you're at on that. And from there, we can do active test to see open and close central locking, lower raise head restraints, unlock trunk lid. So you don't get like, once again, the handle lid, which is kind of the most important thing. You just kind of get like all these other things. But it's still worth its weight in gold, the MP808, as far as I'm concerned. So here you can see it's reading. So now it'll just say one fault. And that one fault is the one that can be disregarded. So here's the overhead control panel. This one, I believe, is your moonroof or your sunroof. I'm sorry, your sunroof. And like if we go to read code, and the supply voltage is low, control module is too high, temperature sensor, so horizontal position, potentiometer has open circuit. Here we go. tilting sliding sunroof is not normalized. So yeah, this is the sunroof, and you know, that's another thing that is not really a concern for me. I have it so that you know, it's sealed, it's locked, and I never open the sunroof anyway. Because the one thing I will say with the Mercedes S classes, the W220s, is that the sunroof leaks. For, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. And so I've never opened this one just for that reason, so that I don't, you know, open up a can of worms and have the car leak. Because the sunroof is tricky to get back right, especially especially if it's not normalized. But I normalized it once, but I guess for whatever reason there's a code coming back. But you know, if you do use your sunroof a lot, then you want to look into this. So the cool thing is, like, you know, you can click that and go to search right here, and then it'll come up and just tell you, like, it'll have all the features and stuff like that, all the how-tos on this code. So that's cool. And we might be able to clear it. I'm not going to clear it just because I'm going to have to turn off the key again, and I'm in a tight spot just to get this camera angle. So, but yeah, so we can also do a quick erase, and then once again, it'll do the same thing, and it'll just clear everything. Some codes it won't clear though. So like if you have like an EGR fault, it might not clear. It may clear. Some things it won't clear, so you just kind of have to, like, you know, either fix it or just live with it, depending on what it is. But that's the thing. So if you do get a fault, right? If you do get a fault, then clear it. Clear it first. Don't panic. Clear it first. Drive the car around for like a week, 2 weeks. Come back, read the codes. Whatever comes back in that time, then you know it's kind of like I won't say serious, but it's a persistent issue, and then you can fix it from there. If it doesn't come back, then you know that maybe it was just like a one-time thing that the car thought you did, but, you know, it was just maybe you turned something on and off, you unplugged something, you disconnected the battery. So the car just thought that system failed when it didn't. But final thoughts now on everything. You sure you want to? Yep. So final thoughts. Is this, you know, worth the money? I totally think so. It's a great tool to have. You know, it's definitely helped me. It's gotten me out of a lot of jams where if I didn't have this tool, then I would just have to have spent more time. I would have been chasing my tail, you know, all that kind of stuff. So with that said, I just want to say, if you have an S-Class, I highly recommend the MaxiPro MP808, because the 808 does the programming, and the programming is what you want, especially to calibrate the suspension, to program the PSE pump, to program the transmission, all that kind of stuff. You're gonna need this, and this works really well. So there's a lot to go over in this, and I know that I probably left a lot of things out. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. I'll go through you know, the scan tool and check it out. But leave a comment down below, and let me know if you have any questions. And, you know, if you like this content and you want to see more content just like this, then be sure to like and subscribe. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.